Hello and welcome to Team Liquid's boss overview series for Manaforge Omega. I'm Eiya, and today we're taking a look at the Forgeweaver Araz encounter on Mythic difficulty. If this is your first time learning about Forgeweaver Araz, we recommend that you begin with our normal and heroic guide linked below. Forgeweaver Araz is a fight that cycles between Phase 1 and intermission twice before culminating in a Phase 2. Now let's break down this encounter. The first thing that will happen is Forgeweaver Araz will activate one of 3 collectors spread out in a triangle pattern around the room, causing projectiles to shoot out very quickly from it. These are basically a one-shot on this difficulty, so you'll need to get used to dodging them. Sometimes tanks are able to help soak ones heading for the raid, but don't rely on this. The active collector will then shoot out a void tear to a set location opposite of itself on the other side of the room. Next, Forgeweaver Araz will periodically target players with Astral Harvest. This is a 4-second dot that, on expiration, will drop adds at the player's feet. These adds were already quite fast on Heroic and are even faster and immune to damage until they pass through the void tear on Mythic. Liquid killed this boss by placing these adds just in front of the void tear and then knocking them back into it using a Druid's Typhoon or Drakthir's Racial Wing Buffet. After the add passed through the void tear, they then used a CC rotation with heavy emphasis on using Binding Shot and Oppressive Roar for as many of the sets as possible. After the nerf of Forgeweaver Araz, this is less necessary, and you may have to adjust this plan based on your raid's composition. You may decide that rather than trying to knock the adds through the void tear, you'd rather just spawn them behind it. This is a sizable DPS loss, but will likely be fine with higher levels of gear and the stacking reputation raid buff. Either way, the Liquid Weak Auras package includes a CC Coordinator Weak Aura that you can set up to help people track which set they're using their abilities on and the other effects they're waiting for. Throughout the fight, Forgeweaver Araz will target several players with Silencing Tempest. This is a ground AoE that will drop on players' locations once every second for a duration of 6 seconds. Anyone caught in these circles will take heavy damage and be silenced. Soon after the first adds, you'll get the first Arcane Echo spawn, which deals a large amount of raid damage that can be reduced by players standing inside the tank soak. Those players will get a large healing absorb, so they'll need to watch out if they get a dot while that's still active on them. And they'll also be unable to reduce the damage of the next soak. Players with immunities can use them to reduce the damage of multiple soaks and also avoid a healing absorb. The first Arcane Echo that spawns needs to die before the second, so spit some damage onto it, but if it's dying long before the second spawn, then you can swap some players off of it. Also, always spawn this Echo opposite the boss through the middle of the room and keep it at least 20 yards from the boss at all times. Otherwise, both the Echo and the boss will get a massive damage reduction and damage increase. Forgeweaver Araz will now activate a second collector, and the boss and the Echo will team up to cause both active collectors to shoot projectiles at you. Learning how to dodge this is one of the biggest parts of progressing this encounter. A general tip that some players find helpful is to try to dodge toward the first collector to begin shooting. That way you'll be done dodging those quicker and can focus on dodging the second collector more easily. After these dodges, one of the 2 collectors will shoot a void tear, move the boss next to this, and spawn the adds there. Then, do the next Arcane Echo soak opposite of it. This Echo can die much slower and should be tanked opposite the boss and killed sometime during the intermission with mostly free cleave if possible. After the Echo spawns, move the boss to the second void tear, which the other active collector will spawn. After handling this overlap, get ready for things to become even more crazy and stay that way for the rest of the fight. Now you'll have the final collector activate, then a random collector of the 3 will shoot out a void tear and spawn adds, followed by the second collector spawning a void tear and the adds, and then the third. You'll have players targeted to drop Silencing Tempest circles. Try to avoid placing these where you're spawning the adds, and if you're targeted by both, you should move into the add drop location as late as possible to avoid polluting it. Soon after the last adds of this set spawn, the boss will knock everyone back and start the intermission, running to the front of the room. The 3 collectors now need to be killed, dying within 5 seconds of each other or else you'll wipe. There's also ramping damage, so you can't afford to wait around. Split your damage equally between all 3 and get ready to dodge the beams that will rapid fire out of you. The tanks need to pick up the 2 new adds that spawn and intercept the beams that the full energy collectors will shoot towards the middle of the room with the adds. It's a good idea to tank swap sometime when one of these are stunned by this beam to avoid them ramping up too much attack speed, which they gain from hitting the same target for a long time. Save your defensives for the end of this intermission as the damage becomes almost unhealable. After you've killed the last collector, the boss will wait a few seconds and then enter a vulnerability window where you can get some good damage in. Now we enter an abridged Phase 1, with all 3 collectors activating instantly. You'll have to deal with a triple orb dodge from all 3 collectors at the same time. Tanks can reduce some danger here by soaking the orbs aimed at the raid from one of the collectors, which can sometimes create a large safe area for everyone to stand. Then you'll have a Void Tear plus adds combo, an Arcane Soak, and then the other 2 Void Tears plus add locations in fairly quick succession. This Arcane Echo is another one you'll mostly ignore. It can die near the start of the phase 2 to largely passive cleave depending on your composition. Soon after the 3rd adds spawn, the boss will again enter an intermission, which works exactly the same as the first intermission. After the 2nd intermission, or just before if you need it for your healers to stabilize, use Bloodlust and nuke the boss during the 2nd vulnerability. Then head to the entrance of the room and start running against the increasing pull of the Void Zone that the boss spawns to start phase 2. This phase is pretty simple. You're getting increasingly pulled towards the death zone, and the boss will spawn adds that are also getting pulled towards that zone. If any add makes it, you'll wipe. And if you touch the zone, you'll also die. Pixel stacking to spawn the adds in every corner of the entrance wall is a good idea, as it makes knocking with Ring of Peace and other effects more reliable since the adds will be stacked. Look out for several knockbacks that the boss will cast during this phase, and set up a crowd control rotation, as well as a rotation of movement effects like Stampeding Roar, Time Spiral, and Wind Rush Totem. Set up a Warlock Gateway for everyone to use as well, and then all that's left is nuking the boss before the pull of the void becomes irresistible. We hope you found this guide useful, and if you have any questions, feedback, or comments, drop them below. Stay tuned for more Manaforge Omega boss guides. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye!